Hello, welcome back to Beneficial Life Noding. In this episode, I'm going to do an improv and trying to recreate this artwork that I found online. Um, when you look at it, this is like just like a bunch of like a kind of like a circular shape, and then with some dots kind of racing with each other, and it's kind of at some point they actually kind of merge and in line with each other again. It's very cool animations, and I kind of feel challenged to do this inside Blender. So I will be using Spherechalk add-on to do this. Yeah, so just let's get started. It shouldn't be too hard. We can start with circle or n-gon will actually works, but I'll just use circle. With a circle, we know that we can get kind of like any kind of circular kind of shape. Start from triangle, and you can go up until you get like a full circle, like a no. We can use this because this is like fully vectorized. Shouldn't be too hard. So I'm gonna use range integer. The idea is really to get the like this multiple circle going. So just let's plug this range integer, the integer number, start from 3, stop at whatever, but this is, I give it like a count of 10. I'll save this real quick. This is Racing Points demo. If you look at using stethoscope, you can see this is range of number 10 numbers start from 3 and at 12. So we already get that kind of look. The next thing we want to do is to use range float, I believe. So range float plug into the radius. So we want to have like 10. The start one shouldn't be 0. 0 is like you can't see 0 object with 0, so I'll increase it a little bit. Stop at 10. It doesn't matter, just make it more or less just like that kind of design. So we already get that kind of look. You can of course make this a little bit better, maybe kind of slightly rotate it, depending on what shapes. But this is pretty much what you see there. Let me check real quick. Yeah, it's pretty much almost this shape, except that it is slightly rotated. So probably it's a good idea to just rotate it. So rotate, Euler rotations in the z-axis, rotate it 60 degree, actually 90 degree. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, except that yeah, I might need to adjust this so it's slightly more this part needs to be rotated a couple of degrees, but anyway, it doesn't actually matter too much. All we want to care is that the dots, the animated dots for now. So the animated dots can be done using vector interpolation, I believe. So if we just plug in this guy in there, turn on cyclic, and plug this into the matrix, we should get this thing. Okay, so it's already kind of happening. So 0 to 1 is like the full rotation. 0 to 1, and it stopped there. This is the interpolations kind of value. So for the interpolation value, you probably want to use a frame. So if we plug in a frame number in there, it's gonna go really fast and stop right away. I'll put in some kind of math here, 0.1. So now it's rotating, and then it's gonna stop. And I'm gonna put absolute here so we can kind of loop it. Absolute, actually not absolute, it's a modulo of 1. So it's gonna continuously looping now, 0.2. So if you give like a negative value, it's gonna go the opposite way. so it doesn't really matter. So anyway, we have these running dots now. The dots is gonna run kind of like at the same time. It's gonna always make this like a line, but in this case, the funny thing is kind of like a spiraling. So what some of them goes faster, and then some go slower, and then until they actually line up again. It's very interesting. So um, before we do that, we have the matrix transform value here, but we need to have like maybe something like icosphere in here, so we have like a dots running through it. Give it a black color, yeah, something like that. It's pretty decent. Yeah, so this guy is now kind of almost there, but then maybe we need to offset it slightly. So here with the time frame, we want to add offset. So offset is always involving add, and if you give like range float value, I don't know, 0 and 10 step, I don't know what this value is, but I'm just gonna plug that in. So currently it's giving us this, which is pretty strange, but it's kind of interesting effect anyway. Maybe you want this kind of radar kind of look. No, we don't want that. We actually want to split. We want to split the time. Now it's getting somewhere. So you see, as let me try something. As I drag this value, maybe I stop at 0 and then kind of playing around with this number. So if it's 0, 0, it's going to be like totally line up. If I increase this value, you will see that at some point it started to make like a spiral. This is exactly just like the animation you saw, the animated GIF. And this is actually what's happening. It's kind of like making spiral, and then at some point it's kind of making like interesting looking pattern, like a Fibonacci sort of, and then continue on and on until suddenly it's lining up again. See, this is making kind of like a spiraling thing, kind of like a fidget spinner, maybe a little bit, and continue on and on until it's suddenly lining up again. Very strange, but that's actually exactly what's going on. So without any further ado, we just plug in another time in there, and we should get the magic thing to happen. So as this goes further and further, it's gonna make like spiraling, and then suddenly it's gonna line it up itself again. So there you go. This is how you create this pretty easily. So if you want to tidy this up and maybe like make this kind of colorful rainbow thing, that's just like shouldn't be too hard. Let's see, right. First of all, if you want to line this up, maybe we can use some kind of value here in the rotations. I don't care too much about that one. I care more about the final look. So if you want to make like different color of line there, this is like only preview. But if I turn off the preview and plug this into like a polyline viewer, it should give me the curve. Yep, and then we can close it, and I believe they are all separate. So with they are separate, we can give it a material. Give it a material, turn on shadeless and object color on. With object color on, we really simply just need to give a color to this guy, and then it should have our colored lines. So you can color it manually, but no, we don't want to do that. We simply want to use nodes to do that. Okay, I think my Blender is hanging. I updated to macOS Sierra the other day, and then since then my Blender crashed even more. Uh, Maybe that's not a good idea. But anyway, you already know how to do this. You simply use the object node set, and then for the color, you just use plug in the HSV, and then it's gonna just give a color between red and, like going through the hue, and then it's gonna solve the problem. Yeah, hopefully you find this one useful. Let me know what you think.